Hello everyone, this is Ray Space, back here again in Kerbal Space Program 1.12 with Realism Overhaul with Payload Starship, here to propose another nefarious idea, something to change Starship for the better potentially, but I am going to get your views on it before I try to change the model. The views on the 12-meter Starship seem positive, so I'll probably end up making a version of that, but this might be bundled in with that as a modification to Starship. I haven't taken a look at the comments to some of the other ideas like the ions and stuff like that because I was on a trip, and so I need to catch up on the comments. I will do that and see what people thought about some of the other ideas. But I haven't modified this Starship to reflect the idea I have for this video, and that's because it will take some fundamental modeling, as you will soon see. The issue that I'm trying to broach is the fact that we have a payload that's fairly high up on Starship, and it could be on the order of 100 tons. That's the goal that SpaceX has for Starship, to land about a 100-ton payload on the surface of Mars. The issue is that that rather makes the landing balance bad. The tanks of Starship are largely going to be empty when it lands on the surface of Mars. It does have the mass of the engines, but that's fairly light. And so you have a very high mass, high up in the stack, which is not great for landing on even a slightly uneven surface. And while SpaceX has certainly conjured miracles when it comes to landing things, the surface of Mars is still going to be a bit of a problem, and we don't want really large landing legs. We already have a dry mass situation with Starship, and it's a little bit of a problem having all the structure that it already has on it, much less putting heavy landing legs on it in order to maintain balance. And so the thing that I want to propose is moving the payload down. We already have small tanks at the top, the header tanks, and so those already need to be cross-fed down into the stack. Now, I don't know what exactly the situation with that feeding is or how quickly it happens, but the idea is to make the tank volume down here less and add larger tanks up here, and then move the payload down, and thereby also simplify the door mechanism that would be necessary. Right now we have a door that sort of has to taper like this to match the contour of the nose, and that is a very complex door. Also, it's not really a good idea to have the door on a single hinge like this. More likely you want double doors like the space shuttle had. And that's because there's thermal expansion to deal with, expansion and contraction. Steel doesn't do as much as the carbon composites that the space shuttle used, but it still does. And you can make the doors a lot lighter if you make them simple. And they'll be a lot simpler if they're on multiple hinges on the side rather than a single hinge like this. So we would have double doors, and we don't want them tapering like this because that's going to cause a lot of warping issues. We would like them more to be down here and straight. That will make it easier for them to be shut and probably make them lighter. So that is another issue. But the main thing is I don't want it tipping over on the surface of Mars. And also, when you think about the aerodynamics of it, having a variable payload, it could be 0 tons, it could be 100 tons, be this far above the center of mass of the overall vehicle, which is lower down here, is not a good idea. That changes the aerodynamic situation and causes problems for our fins. For now, they haven't really dealt with that issue, but once they start putting heavy payloads in and trying to bring those payloads down somewhere, really they're not going to be bringing them down on Earth, so that's not a problem for the tankers. Those will be basically empty when they come back down. But if they got ever bring down crew to Earth, or ever gonna do the landings on Mars, they're gonna need to worry about the balance. And that balance situation would be best served if the payload was actually in the center. With the space shuttle, the payload was actually placed in the center when it was coming back down. It was close to the back of the bay so that the space shuttle can maintain its balance because the center of mass was also in the back of the bay. So that is the thing that I'm worried about, along with the tipping over situation. Now, I don't know all the complexities of this whether putting larger tanks up top is a good idea or not, and so I'll rely on folks to explain that part to me if I've got that wrong. But it seems to me that we already have some tanks at the top, and so enlarging them or creating another set as necessary isn't going to be worse than what we've got right now in terms of the balance. So that is the idea. And the reason I'm proposing all these ideas when it comes to Starship is because ultimately, if we're going to be forward-looking about space things and really put our development noggins to work, either we're going to come up with really advanced systems, like I've been doing with the interplanetary transfers, the fast interplanetary transfers, and all that business, or we're going to figure out what the soft spots are on Starship and try to tackle them. In tackling the issues of Starship, we can develop an even better system, potentially, and thereby move on from there. Otherwise, we're just copying stuff. We are either copying stuff that was proposed in the 1960s, or we're copying stuff that SpaceX is doing. So, either we're going to be using advanced drives and stuff like that, ions and all that business, and exploring that stuff, which I am doing, or we're going to be figuring out how to modify Starship for the better. And so this is part of that tactic. And so, yeah, that is the reason behind these proposals. And I continue to try to put my development abilities to use. Obviously, I'm just a novice, but I'm here with Kerbal Space Program, which is a tool that the folks in the 1960s would have killed for, so I might as well put it to some use. So here we are. Is it a good idea to move the payload to the center of Starship? Is that a better notion, or should it be kept higher up as it is right now? So I'll leave that to you guys to comment on. With that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.